Right, what's up, everyone? It's Zach, and today I'm here with a very special guest. I'm here with Jack Kelly. Jack, how are you doing today?
I'm good, man. Thanks so much for having me on. I think this is a really cool concept you have for a podcast, and I'm excited to have a chat with you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for the kind words, and thank you for taking out your day to be a part of this. I'm super excited to have you on. For those of you who might not be familiar with Jack, like me, big basketball fan, Detroit Pistons fan, and he is also a writer for the Detroit Bad Boys, where he's putting out various articles about the state of the Pistons, how they're doing, their future, and all that good stuff. So that's a little bit about Jack and what he does. But do you mind kind of giving us a little background on who you are, what you do, all that good stuff?
Yeah, for sure, man. So any listeners can probably tell I have a bit of an accent. I'm obviously not from the United States. I live in Melbourne, Australia, which is down the bottom of Australia. And yeah, I'm as Zach sort of stated, I'm a massive Pistons fan, NBA fan. Um, that just basketball for me is pretty much my passion in life. I sometimes talk to my girlfriend. When we first met, she's like, I've never come across someone who has such a strong passion for something. So, um, I mean, as you stated, I'm currently a staff writer for Detroit Bad Boys of SB Nation and covering the team, I guess, in a capacity. So, um, yeah, that's sort of what I'm doing at the moment. My day job,
Awesome.
I work in construction full time as a project manager, but yeah, this is my basketball is my side hustle, my passion. So yeah.
I love it. So, Jack, you mentioned that basketball is a massive passion for you, and it's always been a big part of your life. What got you into the sport?
Funnily enough, so I used to play back in probably 2005. I would have been like, I don't know, 11 or 12 years old. And my major passion back then was Australian rules football, which I'm not sure if you know what that is, but that's pretty much the biggest sport over here. And then at school, we had to choose like a spring sport, and my mum just decided to put me in basketball. I'd never played. And I just honestly just loved the sport and just started playing a lot. And that fed into, honestly, my my obsession with basketball also started from just playing video games like NBA 2K.
Yeah.
The amount of time I used to put in to just playing that game, but I had this weird eye for detail where I was one of those guys who would create rosters, customize accessories. Like I would customize shoes, and I just was obsessed with the sport, the detail, and everything about it. Like before they used to have online roster updates and stuff, I used to go and scour Google. I'd write down all the transactions. I'd get screenshots of players to see what accessories they were wearing. So me and my brother over the summer could just play NBA 2K, like my leagues, I guess they're called now. And that's really where I started to build an understanding for the sport, was through the video games, because it wasn't really that accessible in Australia. Like we'd have some ESPN games on cable, but um, yeah, it's sort of just that's where it sort of began for me. Um, I
That's
guess.
awesome. Yeah, I love that. And I mean, I know for myself, and I'm sure anyone that's a fan of basketball probably grew up playing the 2K games or NBA Live or whatever. So I don't think you're scouring Google for all the information, but I definitely remember like building my teams, and I was like, oh, this is sweet, and that's what really introduced me to the sport as well. So that's really cool to hear. Um, so Jack, like you mentioned, you're in Australia and everything. Why the Pistons?
Yeah, so I've been on a few podcasts like across the past few months, and um, my Pistons fandoms, I guess, the beginning to it is, from what the reactions I've got, is quite rare. So essentially, like I said earlier, I started becoming a fan of the NBA in like 2006, but I never really had a team. Um, you just sort of watch whatever games were available. But then around 2011, I was a bit of a Dwight Howard fan, I
Okay.
guess. He was one player I really enjoyed watching. And I was looking at like a mock draft or something on NBA.com, and I just saw coming up for the 2012 draft, the number one prospect was Andre Drummond.
Yeah.
So I and he was touted as the next Dwight. So I remember just sort of watching him at UConn and following him as much as I could. And I said to myself, whichever team he gets drafted to, I will follow, and that's my team. Yeah, so
I love that.
legit, that is the story. It's not because like from some international Pistons fans, a lot of them, especially the ones around our age, they sort of got that going to work crew with Ben Wallace and stuff. That's where their fandom
Yeah.
started. I have no allegiances or any like without like it's almost blasphemous, but pre 2012, 2011, I don't really care about like, do you know what I mean? I don't have
Yeah,
any ties to it. I've watched the Bad Boys like documentary, the 30 for 30, but that's really about it.
sure. That's so funny. Out of every player that I mean, and Drummond was a good player for sure. I mean, I think that sometimes he gets a little unnecessary hate, but
Yeah.
he was a great player and he was a lot of fun to watch. And what
Oh
is he in
man, well, like,
Chicago now?
yeah, he's with the Bulls, and like I was like obsessed with him. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, man, like I was a true stan, I guess is what you call it now. Like
right.
because all my friends in Australia, like you just like I said, it's not as accessible. Like it is now with
Hmm.
streaming services and stuff, but you used to just sort of attach yourselves to the your LeBrons, your Kobe's, whoever those
Yeah.
top flight players were. And then I'd be like, yeah, I'm an Andre Drummond fan. And I was like the only kid with league pass that would just watch the Pistons.
That's hilarious, man.
Yeah.
And, shout out to you, man, for being a loyal Pistons fan to this day, because there were I mean, we still are in some pretty dark times as a Pistons fan, but you've pretty much been a Pistons fan throughout a whole terrible stretch.
Absolutely, man. Like that's, I mean, there's no impatience with me. I've got,
Yeah.
I've sat through a decade of still haven't seen a playoff win. I've seen two sweeps. Seen
Hmm.
Andre Drummond booed in Game 3 of the 2019 playoffs by his home crowd.
Yeah.
I've seen Blake Griffin run around on one leg. Like it's I actually over the summer I was putting out some content on Twitter and I was like, my top like highlight is this KCP dunk on LeBron in Game 3, like
Okay.
2016.
Yeah.
Like that is like one of my Pistons highlights for the postseason. So
I
yeah,
love
man,
that.
it's been rough, but there's an element of fun to like, I don't know, I almost sound like a sicko, but there's an element of fun to like knowing that one day this team will be so good and you'll appreciate it. I don't know. There's something to that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you on that, and I tend to be when it comes to my sports teams, whether it's basketball or any sport, I tend to be a little more optimistic than maybe I should be or others. So I definitely am one of those people who I'm like, yeah, the Pistons are going to be a championship team in, I don't know, 2, 3 years from now. Um, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. And I think like one of the
100%.
things that's interesting about the NBA is like just the idea of like super teams. Like I feel like that's or in my opinion, the sport where like it's just really easy for teams to get or for conferences or teams to just get very unbalanced.
Yeah, for sure. Um, and I like how you just used the word optimistic there because that sort of feeds into um, just, I guess, my journey a little bit, not to sort of go away from what
No,
you're
you're
saying,
good.
but um, I guess for me, being optimistic and maintaining constant positivity has been the main driver that's gotten me to even this point of where I'm at in my journey. Because so I'm now 27, so I didn't even start this basketball, I guess, journalistic content creating stuff for the NBA. That journey for me only started probably 12 months ago,
Hmm.
12 to 18 months ago. And prior to that, I obviously was a big fan of the sport, but I'd had all this passion, but didn't know where to put it or that. And it took sort of meeting my girlfriend and her sort of helping me unlock this passion, and because she does some amazing things herself, and seeing her on her journey um, really helped me just put a focus on actually chasing my dream of becoming, I guess, an NBA content creator slash someone who one day could cover the league as a media personality. Um, so, and for me, being in Australia, the thought of covering an NBA game in the stands as like a credentialed media member 18 months ago, honestly, just felt like the furthest thing away,
Hmm.
like an impossible feat. Um, but the main thing I've done these past 12 months is work hard, maintain constant positivity, and always be optimistic and always be kind. And the ground you can cover, it's quite amazing, really. So I know I've gone on a mini tangent there, but I just love
No, that was
being
great.
optimistic and positive, like it, and just being kind to people. Like it
Hmm.
will always shine through. And I'm so far from where I want to be, but in the 12 months, if you had told me what I was doing now to what I was doing 12 to 18 months ago, I wouldn't even have thought I could get to where I am now. So yeah, I just think that's a really important message for people. Like, and man, it's crazy. Like, I'm some people reach out to me on Twitter now in my DMs, and like this awesome guy, he's Pistons. He's a Pistons fan from Turkey, and he reached out and sent me this like this piece of writing he wanted me to read through and check the comprehension and just make sure his English was good. And I'm like, man, I'm just thinking to myself, like, this is crazy. Like, I didn't have a college degree. I didn't go to university. I personally think my English sucks, but like for people to reach out to me for that, like, that is so kind. Like, I just, yeah, it's just crazy, man. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. No, I mean, thank you for sharing everything that you just did. And, you kind of mentioned that maybe your girlfriend was kind of like the driving force 12 months ago to get you
Yeah.
into the MBA content creation, everything. But it sounds like kind of that mindset of being positive, being optimistic, being kind is something that you might have had before then. Is that something that has always been like character traits of you, or is that stuff that like has the positivity and optimism really like kind of developed over those last 12 months?
At my core, I've always had those character traits, but
Okay.
I'm someone, and I'm very open about this. I'm someone who struggled with my mental health a lot.
Mm,
And to be honest, I didn't even really know it, but yeah, I have always struggled with, like, I've had a lot of anxiety, social anxiety, things like that, that would make me have this really hard exterior. And to a point, I would be a person I wasn't in social scenarios, or I would always sort of self deprecate myself. And
yeah.
when I came across my girlfriend, like, she's just an amazing person. Like, she does some crazy, crazy things. Like, and she just really helped bring out the best version of me. And like, she would say, yeah, there's like a good Jack, and then there's my 5%, which used to suck back in the day.
Yeah.
That's the best, but we've slowly gotten rid of that. And that's just come from working on myself, having amazing support from her, but also just, yeah, really every day trying to stay positive, being grateful, happy. And just some of the best advice I've gotten in this journey from just reaching out to people who work in the industry is like, you should always do, like, do what others don't have the opportunity to do. So I've got the opportunity to wake up and, you know, pursue my dream. There's so many people that don't. So you should always do it for those that can't. And
Mhm.
that comes with just being positive and stuff. So yeah, I guess that's just my mindset, and that's what I try and apply every day.
Yeah, I think that's a great mindset, and I think that sometimes we underestimate the power of being positive or having a positive mindset. I think that, if you're always negative, you tend to experience more negative things, or you're just,
Yeah,
impacts more than just your life and your mindset, your decision impacts your loved ones, your friends, your families, your coworkers, everyone. So I think just like, obviously, I don't know if it's possible to be happy and optimistic and positive, 24/7, but if you do that the majority of your time, I think you're really going to see a lot of benefits from it and just it's going to help you feel more grateful in general.
absolutely. And you're 100% right. There's plenty of times where where it's because it's easy to be negative. Like
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure it's scientifically proven. It's mentally, it's easier to be negative, like, or to be, I don't know, just have those negative thoughts and emotions. But if you can catch yourself in the moment and go, actually, instead of letting it spiral, or you just
Mhm.
catch yourself and have that moment of gratitude, and you can go, actually, this isn't really that bad. Or, you know, where you can just provide some context, or, yeah, just remind yourself that nothing, yeah, most situations are never as bad as you think. Um, I know, speaking for myself, because I know I've
Yeah.
got all the opportunities in the world, and I'm very grateful for, yeah, everything I have. So Yeah.
Yeah, that's super important. And something just related but kind of off topic that I've kind of thought about over the last couple of years that I think is really interesting and I think really resonates to what Jack and I are talking about is like maybe for Jack, maybe for myself, let's say, we go to the store to get something for dinner and they're sold out of what we need like to make it or whatever. We might just be like, "Oh man, like today sucks, like such a bad day. This is the worst luck." And like we can like easily ruminate on those feelings and just be like really down and negative about it. But then, like, you might meet someone who, like, I don't know, is homeless or might have, like, a terminal illness or something, and they seem like the most positive person. They're like, "Oh my gosh, like, I got a bagel for breakfast. I'm so happy." And it's just like, how is someone that's going through such hard times so positive? But I think it's like,
Yeah.
you just you have to be positive. It doesn't matter what you have in your life or what you don't have, like, just be positive and just try not to get caught up in, like, those small things that, like, we're so used to getting caught up in, like, getting stuck behind a train or, being sold out of
Yeah,
whatever you need to buy, like, there's so much more bigger things in the world.
absolutely. And yeah, you're always going to still probably get angry at those smaller things, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's just about being able to catch yourself and remind
Mhm.
yourself that yeah, there's a lot worse things maybe, or just yeah, there's this really cool book. I'm not sure if you've read it, but I might sound a little bit crazy, but there's this book called The Secret, which is just
Yeah.
about
Yep.
yeah, the law of attraction,
Yep.
and you manifest positivity, like, or whatever you want in life, if you manifest it and just it's essentially just like be positive and manifest the things you want, and they will come to you
Yeah.
in some form and you'll attract them. That's exactly, I think you said that earlier. Like
Yeah.
when you maintain positivity in that, you will attract it. So that's just how I try and live my life, to be
Yeah.
honest. And um, it's really helped me get to where I am now, and it's what I'm going to lean on to get me to where I want to go.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned The Secret. That's something that I
Yeah.
personally I first came across that. Oh man, I was probably like 16 or something, so like 10 years ago. So that's something that like I came across from a friend
Okay.
mentioned it, and then like I've just been trying to mindset and everything. And it's really cool to hear you are in a similar
100%.
situation. Yeah.
I've got like a little story that's somewhat cool
Yeah.
that came from some manifestation. Like, so this was back when I this was probably start of this year. Didn't really have much of a following on Twitter. Was still just trying to find my feet, or just yeah, I didn't have much of a voice or whatever you want to say. And one of the things I was manifesting constantly is that I absolutely love Kevin O'Connor from The Ringer. I just think
Okay. Yeah.
his story. Anyway, his story from where he like how he got to where he is, I think sort of like a path I'm sort of following in a way.
Hmm.
And yeah, and I was manifesting that I'll what was I manifesting? It was something along the lines of like I'll interact or I'll meet with him by such and such date. Like I was just writing this constantly amongst other things.
Yeah.
Um, and then literally within like a week, we had this like massive Twitter back and forth. Like and I just like tagged him in something like don't even know. It wasn't to do with Killian Hayes or any hot topic that he's been related to. It was just something. And we just had this back and forth. And it was just like, that's weird because I've done stuff like that before, like even
Hmm.
last year. And yeah, I don't know. It's just a little thing that happened. I was like, I believe in this stuff. Like it'll come in some
Yeah.
form if you manifest it. So yeah.
Exactly. I love that. That's such a great story.
Mm. It's just a little thing, a little like interaction, but it was just the the circumstances to it just made me sort of it reinforced my belief in that.
Exactly. That's awesome. So, Jack, you kind of mentioned that you're a long way from where you've made it a long way from when you started 12 months ago, but you're still, not where you want to. You still want to keep growing and putting out more content, and you still have big goals. When it comes to following your passion, do you know currently like what your goal is or like what you want to do with what you're currently doing with the content creation?
I don't have, and this is something that's sort of like I struggle with, but I'm also okay with at the same time. It's like
Okay.
I don't know what my end goal is. I guess the overarching theme is to in some capacity, essentially be paid to create some form of content for the NBA. Right
Okay.
now, that's written, but I do want to create a podcast one day. I'm just waiting for the right time, potentially the right co-host. Um, but I want to cover the NBA in some capacity. So my main stuff at the moment is on Twitter and through written form, but there's definitely other avenues I want to explore and I'm planning to explore. But for the moment, it's just trying to continue to grow, I guess, my following and just meeting people and just continuing to get advice, and just believing that it's going to happen. I don't really have an awesome answer for you here,
No, you're
but
good.
like there's a certain patience and
Hmm.
that I feel like you have to have, and just
Yeah.
self belief to just know that this will work out if you keep putting in the work, keep reaching out to people, and just having conversations, meeting people. Um, but one of the cool things I'm planning to doing in the, I guess, short to medium future is I'm going to go to the summer league next year. I guess that would be,
Okay.
and I don't want to jinx it, but I'm hoping to be credentialed there, and that'll be a really good opportunity for me to just meet with people,
Yeah.
just meet face to face.
Hmm.
And yeah, I guess yeah, I'm just the NBA is my life, so
I
I
love
want to
that.
if any way I can hustle to make it my living, that's what I'm going to do.
That's awesome. Um, with you being in Australia, have you thought about, or are you considering, or is it even possible that you might move at some point so you are kind of like more connected with the NBA scene?
Well, my girlfriend and I have a loose plan to move to New York.
Okay.
Um, because she would like to open a pop-up store there for like a year. So that's like sort of, we have a loose plan to do something like that. So I would just move there as well. Um, and yeah, try and just continue to meet people. And yeah, I guess
Yeah,
I would like to live. One of my dreams would be to live in the US for a couple of years, um, especially while I'm still relatively young, and
sure.
just see where I can go with this.
Okay. That's awesome. You just have to promise me, and we're recording, so it'll be on the record that you're not gonna change your alliance and go to be like a Knicks fan or something. Please don't do
No,
that.
no, never, never.
Good.
I would, even if I have to cover another team or I ride about another team, I'll always be a Pistons fan at heart. It's funny. Some people have reached out and like they'll say, "Oh, I'm worried about pursuing. Like, I don't want to write for this team because I'm worried I'll lose my fandom." I'm like, "Nah, you could keep your fandom. You just
Yeah.
you'll be all good, man."
Yeah.
Um, no, I would never change, never become a Knicks fan. That's for sure.
Okay. I appreciate that. But no, I think that's awesome, Jack, and it's cool because, you know, just full transparency to you and to anyone listening, you and I, we just kinda connected recently, so I haven't been following your journey for that long or anything, but to me, you've always come off very professional, you've come off very polished, your writing's been very good, your interactions on social media has always been positive, engaging, and to me, like, without knowing your backstory, I would have thought that you've been doing this years.
No, man. I first of all, that like means so much to me
Yeah,
just to
of
hear that.
course.
By the way, bro, like I appreciate that so much, man.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, no, I literally so this is where I was, and this sort of feeds back into my anxieties, I guess, that I highlighted earlier. So been
Mhm.
on Twitter since like 2011, but never like I purely just used it to scroll for some news. Like never, don't think I've ever
Yeah.
tweeted or anything, which is that's completely normal. But or no, I must have used to tweet some things because I used to be so self-conscious and that I used to block people I knew on Twitter because I never wanted them to see what I would tweet. And I was so insecure about like I used to be so insecure about my obsession with the NBA. And I know that
Okay.
sounds weird, but it was just the mindset I had. And don't know why. So I only started being active on Twitter like, yeah, it must have been October or November last year.
Okay.
So yeah, I used to sort of just live in like I used to be in the comments all the time for
Mhm.
Detroit Bad Boys, and then the page I obviously write for now. Um, so yeah, I've only been pushing out. I really started pushing out a ton of content on Twitter, um, probably towards the end of the playoffs. So
Okay.
uh, yeah, I just decided I'm just going to use this as an opportunity to try and engage with people and grab an audience. And
Yeah.
um, I just decided to put out 3 posts every night. Um, and yeah, just it's a lot of hours. And sometimes
Mhm.
it's like, well, what are you even doing? You're just making these random clips that like, I don't know. Sometimes you can just go like, what are you actually doing? But eventually, yeah, I started to get some traction. I think because it was like the off season, people wanted content to look at, and then I made the priority to always try and respond to every single person
Mhm.
and engage with people, because I know that's what I used to love,
Yeah.
like just engaging with people. So I made an effort to do that, and I still try and
Mhm.
do that as much as possible. Um, and yeah, I guess in the past 3 to 4 months, yeah, I've just had some growth, and that's been really cool because I used to always look at accounts, I guess,
Mhm.
similar to mine that would like, I always wanted to be able to post clips and chat hoops with people and highlight some things that people might not necessarily see.
Yeah.
Um, and then now that I'm sort of doing that, like that, I'm really like that makes me happy just doing this sort of stuff and being able to chat
Yeah.
with people. Like the friends I've made, like it's crazy. Like people from Turkey, like people from just New Zealand, all different other like countries. Like it's crazy, man. Like I love every single person I interact with. Like it's been so cool. Like that's been the funnest part about all this is like just I'm doing this podcast with you now. Like it's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome, and the cool thing that I noticed, just from initially when we, got in touch is just, like, you're a really genuine dude. Like, you're making these connections, you're getting to know people within your industry, you're getting opportunities to be on podcasts or, just meet other people, and it's not, like, you just trying to be kind of, like, sketchy and use other people, like, you're genuinely making these connections, you're engaging in great conversations with people. I mean, I see, you might tweet something about, I don't know, like Cade, his performance or something, and people are, replying to you and you're replying back and it's all fun, it's all, civil, it's not like mean or mean-spirited or anything. So like you're just genuine. I think that with anyone that's starting to grow something or trying to grow something, that's the best thing. It's like just be genuine and focus on what you can give to others and what kind of value you can give, not necessarily like what value you can get from someone else.
No, 100%. And I feel like in this space with like basketball is the place for me where I can be my 100% genuine self. And
Yeah.
I try to be my 100% genuine self in all other areas of my life. But basketball for me, it's like that's just my, it's almost a bit cliche, but it's like my happy place. And
Yeah.
like it's just where I am fully myself. And that's why I'll try never to, definitely don't ever try and troll anyone. Or if I get trolls on my posts, I'll go back at them, but I'll go back at them in a nice way. Like
Right.
I'll always put in there like apologies. Like I try and never be too negative because that feeds back into that
Mhm.
thing of like I don't want to like that person's coming at me. Cool. I don't. That is what it is. I'm just going to maintain positivity and always
Right.
engage and be nice, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to be, and, I don't think you're ignorant to the fact of it and not to, I guess, crush your dreams, but you're probably gonna get some hate point for saying, like, a take that you
Oh,
have on something, or people are gonna troll you, and that's just part of being in the business, but, I think you do a great job handling it, and, like, you have a good head on your shoulders that I think it's gonna help you succeed in the space.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've, I didn't realize, but I somehow must have had my DMs turned off. So I turned them on a few months ago, and some of those message requests like look in there, and
Yeah,
I'm like, oh man, like
yeah,
I'm glad I don't see this. But that's
I
just,
can
like you said,
imagine.
that's part of it.
Yeah,
Even if I wasn't pursuing this thing, there's always going to be someone that doesn't like something what you like something not going to like something you're doing, whether
exactly.
you're covering the NBA or just working a regular job or whatever.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. And I mean, something that you mentioned earlier, Jack, was like when you're working on content or, putting together a clip or something, you might be like, why am I doing this? Or what's the point? Or like you're putting in long hours and you're like, does anyone like care about this? You kind of have those self-doubts, or if you have, a negative comment or something, like it's easy for not just you, anyone to like hyper fixate on that one negative comment and like forget about all the other good comments that they're receiving. But like again, I will go on the record to say, and I haven't told you this, but I mean, as a big sports fan myself, especially NBA, especially Pistons, I have a busy life. Not that we all don't, but like my life gets busy. I don't get to watch every game. I don't get to check the box score for games, but I can go to your account and scroll the next day or the day of after a game and just see like, all right. So I guess like Killian had a pretty solid game off the bench. Sadiq put up some big shots, like, and I can get my fix of what's going on and have my hand on the pulse of the team that I care about without being able to watch all the games. So like even if you don't think you're making a difference, like I can tell you like you have impacted me in a positive way and given me kind of like blood of here I can follow my team even though I know I don't have the capacity to do so all the time.
No, man, like I really appreciate that once again, like
Yeah.
that, because like whilst I have my own goals, like I also do this because, like I said, I used to the way I've shaped my account is what the accounts I used to, like you just said, get my news from.
Hmm.
Like I used to really enjoy it. Like I've just modeled my account after accounts that I used to like. So that's really cool to hear that people are
Yeah.
now looking at my account the way I used to. Um, and yeah, like I said, this is, as much as this is for me, I absolutely love interacting with people and just chatting hoops, and the
Hmm.
fact that people can go to a page with my name on it and my, I guess my face, like it's pretty cool. Like
Yeah.
that stuff. It's a cool feeling, and it is another major reason why I do it.
That's awesome. So as we kind of mentioned in your introduction and you've touched on a little bit throughout the conversation, you're currently um, writing for Detroit Bad Boys of SB Nation, and I think you mentioned that like before you started writing with them, you would look at their stuff and look at their content and get some news and information. So if you don't mind me asking, like how did working for them and getting that opportunity to be a writer, how did that come about?
For sure. So yeah, pretty much, man. So I'd probably been on DBB since like 2014, just as like a
Okay.
user, someone who would comment in the threads, and then last year, towards the end of the COVID season, so I guess the 2021 season, I started this, and my girlfriend and I were just chatting. It must have been in like March, April, May of last year. My girlfriend and I were just chatting like, how can I sort of get into this? Like, what can I start doing with my NBA passion or my passion for basketball and the Pistons? So I just started like watching games, taking notes, um, just notes on players, and like my one goal back then, my 20, my New Year's resolution for 2021, um, was to just write one match report, like
Okay.
one game recap. So I was just
Yeah.
taking notes, and I couldn't sit down and write. Like it was crazy. It took me so long, but um, anyway, so I was just towards the end of that season, just taking notes and trying to figure out how I'm going to write a post, and then on the Detroit Bad Boys, or I'm assuming every SB Nation page has it, there's a fan post section. So none of these
Hmm.
articles go to the main page, but there's like a tab where um, just any user can write an article. Um, and so I just wrote a couple of articles there. Um, and no one really sees them, but I got my
Right.
confidence, a little bit of confidence from that. And and then once the summer league came and the Pistons drafted Cade, I just once again watched those summer league games, took notes, formulated like, and then I just wrote like 4 or 5 player, I guess, summer league recaps, like player specific ones, and posted those in the fan post. I got some few cool comments from people just being like, this could be on the main page. And I was like, oh, all right. So I just reached out to Sean Corp, who's our editor, and he's on Twitter.
Hmm.
And I just sent him an email with my work, and he said, "Yeah, the passion's clear. the writing's solid. Like, yeah, we'd be happy to have you.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, and then I just started writing. Like when I first started there, I was just writing like game previews, game recaps, which are just smaller pieces. And then the coolest moment for me was probably, once again, would have been a year ago, but my first major article I wrote was on Cade, just going through his first 10 games
Hmm.
and just where he was at. And just seeing that, I've still got the screenshot on my computer, that on the main page as the main thing was like
Yeah.
the sickest moment for me. And like, it was just, yeah, just to see because I wrote these little game previews, but they weren't, they're pretty, like, they're just small pieces, but to have like
Right.
a major piece, get some cool feedback, I was like, wow, this is a moment I won't forget. So I guess, and then from there, it's just progressed into, now I'm writing on a quota basis, and earning a little bit of money, which is just like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
That's
that's, I guess,
awesome.
my journey.
No,
Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing your journey. And I think, what was it? I saw, I don't know, maybe like last week or earlier this week, I saw you tweeted out that like you got your first paycheck
Yeah,
um, from doing
exactly,
NBA
man.
content. That's
Yeah.
awesome, dude.
Yeah. No, that was another milestone. Like,
Yeah.
um, yeah, because it's like I would do all this stuff for free. Like,
Yeah.
I really would. I really would. I probably wouldn't put in many hours, but I would still do most of this stuff like to the same level without a dollar. So
Yeah. And that's when you can truly see the passion. As I'm talking to you, I can hear and see the passion that you have for the sport, for basketball, for the NBA, for the Pistons. But like, I think you just summed it up incredibly, that like, even without the money, you would still do it. And I think that that's when we know we've truly found our passion, which is, I mean, exactly what I think at least we should be pursuing. But then when you add that element of like, okay, like I can actually make some money from this, like that's just really cool. And like that first moment, that first time you make, something out of it. I remember I've written and published a couple books. So like the first time I got, a payment for a book, or first time I made money off this podcast, I was like, oh my
that's
gosh, like
amazing,
this
man.
is
Have you
incredible,
written
dude.
books?
Yeah, I have three. I have three books
Are you
I've written and published.
serious?
Yeah.
That is the coolest thing I've ever heard. That is
Appreciate it, man.
amazing, dude. Because I heard
Yeah.
you're 26, aren't you?
Yeah, 26.
Bro, that's amazing.
Thank
That's
you,
so
man.
cool.
Thank you.
Seriously.
I appreciate that. So, yeah, it just I think that the message to anyone listening is like, cherish those moments. Like, even if your first paycheck for something that you do or pursuing your passion is like $2, like celebrate that, cherish it. Like, that's a huge victory, because there's a lot of people who might do what they love and never make a dime on it, even if they're trying their hardest on it. So, just I think it kind of ties into what we were saying earlier, just like be grateful for it and just enjoy it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's yeah, these past 12 months have honestly been the most rewarding
Yeah,
12 months of my life. Like, I've learned
that's good.
so much about myself, what the best version of myself is, and just
Hmm.
trying to apply that every day.
I love
Um,
that.
yeah, it's
That's
been such
awesome.
a fun journey. And like I said, the money, we need money to survive, clearly,
Right.
but this is like, it's just the funnest thing ever. And the fulfillment and joy I get out of it is just, yeah, I wouldn't trade it for anything, honestly.
I love that. Awesome. Well, I wouldn't have this full conversation, or I can't have this full conversation with Jack without asking, who's your current favorite Piston? And I guess what's your take for the team? Like, how do you think the rest of the season's gonna go? What are your expectations for the future? Just let's hear some Pistons thoughts.
100%, man. So my favorite player is Isaiah Stewart. I
Okay.
love Stu. Love Stu. Like, yes, he'll never be the best player. Probably never be the top three scorer on the team. Like, but his passion, his competitiveness, like,
Mm-hmm.
that aligns with me so much, because as passionate as I am, I'm also extremely competitive. Like, I'm
Okay.
extremely competitive, and I try not. I probably don't show that on Twitter, but that's my competitiveness drives me so much. So I just, Isaiah Stewart and I just aligned. Like, I love his passion, and he's a pretty good player as well.
Oh yeah.
Like he's the heart and soul of the Pistons, and like, I absolutely like Cade. Cade clearly, like, he'd be my second favorite, but
Okay.
yeah, I just Stu, when he plays well, like there's a certain part of me, like it's fun. Like I love watching him play.
Yeah.
Um, so he'd be my favorite player.
Okay.
Cade close behind, and then I also love Marvin Bagley, which is a bit random, but I don't know. I love Bagley as well.
Yeah.
But I pretty much like all the young pieces, to be honest. I'm not as centric as I was with Andre Drummond. I'm even obsessed with him.
There
I've
you go.
grown out of that phase, to be honest. But yeah, Stu's my guy in that
Okay.
sense. And then for this season, I mean, like we discussed it earlier, like the past decade's been bleak. 8
Yeah.
years, from 2012 to 2019, that was the franchise was just rotting away in mediocrity, like trying to push for an 8 seed, no clear direction. It was just all about trying to win one playoff game. Um, so, and that feeds into like that's why I'm just so patient. And for this season, I only expected. I mean, on podcasts and people I've spoken with, I said 27, 28 wins is what
Okay.
I see for this team because you have literally of the 10, like when this team is fully healthy, 6 to 7 of their core rotation pieces are all in either year 1, 2, or 3, and your
Hmm.
2 lead ball handlers are in year 1 and 2 in Cade and Ivy.
Yeah.
So the NBA history will tell you when you have young ball handlers, there's turnovers, there's defensive issues. Like when you have a young team, like you're generally not going to be good unless you have
Right.
a transcendent LeBron or
Yeah.
Luca. And I think Cade can be good, but I don't think he's Luca or Cade.
Okay.
Or yeah, I think. But so I'm cool with the progression. I wish we could see this team healthy. I think these
Yeah.
injuries have really made the start of the season tough. Um, just from a watchability point of view, like the blowouts, I think are a result of the lack of health and Alec Burks
Hmm.
being out, not having veterans there all the time. But I do think if they can get healthy, I think it'll be similar to last season. January, February, we'll start to see them playing more competitive games, a few more wins here and there.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately they're a bottom 5
Yeah.
team. Um, so I'm just sitting back, just trying to watch each player's development, which I know it's not most fans just want to see wins and losses. So I get the frustration, but um, I think it's important. Another season of development, get another high pick. And then next season, that's when it's time to not necessarily make the playoffs, but that's when the win-loss stuff will start to become more important, in my opinion.
Yeah. I agree with you.
But
I mean, I think that's a great take.
yeah, for sure. And I was just going to round that out by just saying, I
Yeah.
think ultimately this team is on the right direction. Like this
Hmm.
isn't the same as the past decade. There's a clear direction. The ownership, front office, and coaching staff, there's an alignment there that's important. Because typically when a new front office comes in, like Troy Weaver, they'll probably get rid of the coach at some point. So
Right.
there's a clear, and I know Dwayne Casey is a hot topic, but I just think there's good communication between all 3 levels. And then
Yeah.
the players, there's good young talent on this roster led by Cade um, and Jaden Ivey. I think the future is bright. You just have to be patient. It's
Hmm.
it's hard as a fan, but if you rush it, you end up in situations like the past decade.
Exactly. Yeah. I agree with you 100%. And, you know, I say this a lot, to friends and just colleagues and stuff when talking about the Pistons. I haven't said it on a podcast mainly because, it's not just about Pistons on these conversations, but I will go on the record and say that Jalen Duren is going to be one of the best players in the NBA in due
I
time.
love it.
I
I love
absolutely
it.
love him. You mentioned being a Dwight fan. I see shades of Dwight in his game, and I mean he's 18 and he's still making an impact. Give him some time, but he's my favorite Piston. I think that was probably the steal of the draft, and I mean
I
I'm
love it,
here
man.
for Duran.
No, I love that pick because I said actually on a podcast on Monday, I said I would not be surprised if when this team's winning, he's Detroit's second most important player.
Yeah.
I think that's a possibility just with what he brings defensively and what he could be offensively,
Hmm.
I think there is a world where he's Detroit's. He won't be the second leading scorer, but he'll be their
Right.
second most important player behind Cade. I think that's a potential.
Yeah. I know that you jumped in at the Drummond era, so you're not as, not to say you're not as versed, but you weren't there for the early 2000s Pistons. That's kind of when I first fell in love with the sport. But obviously, you know who Ben Wallace is. You know Big Ben, and just growing up watching Ben Wallace play, and then like watching high school highlights of Duran, and then watching him play at Memphis, and now watching him in the NBA. I'm like, it makes me think of Big Ben, and then you think of the other piece. I think of Isaiah Stewart, kind of like the Rasheed Wallace. Um, I think of Cade, kind of like the Chauncey Billups, just
Yeah,
kind of leading the team, and then Ivy's kind of like Rip Hamilton, just being that clutch shooter. I think a lot of people were like, "Oh, Ivy can't shoot the three, or his shot needs to be worked on." But I mean, so far
yeah,
he's been shooting the ball pretty good in Detroit, in my opinion. So I just see shades of that early 2000s team, and that's what gets me excited.
absolutely, man. And the common trait or common theme from the 80s slash, I guess, early 90s Pistons and the going to work team was they had an all-star backcourt,
Yeah.
or their backcourt, and that's what Ivy and Cade clearly project to be. So
Hmm.
there's there's that there's an alignment there, if you know what I mean, of like,
Yeah.
for some reason that works in Detroit. Like that seems to be the winning formula in Detroit. So
Yeah. It does.
it's really cool. It's really, really cool.
I love it. Awesome. Last Pistons question that I have to ask you. I think that especially people our age are all on the same wavelength with this, but I have heard some people hate on the teal. What are your thoughts on the?
I love the teal.
Okay, good.
Like I just love different stuff, like different
Yeah.
clothes, different colors. Like no, I love the teal. I actually, so quick story. I ordered a teal jersey, and then they were like, "Oh, I don't ship to Australia." And so I'm sending it to a friend in Michigan, and they're going to send it to me, but it's going to end up costing me like 350 Australian dollars. So I'm all in on the teal. And I
Love
was
it.
so excited for some reason to show my girlfriend. She's like, that is the ugliest jersey I've ever seen. I'm like, what?
What?
You work in fashion. I thought you'd sort of like this. She's like,
Yeah.
I hate that color. So,
Oh my gosh, that's funny. But I
yeah.
appreciate that dedication, man, and the cost that that's gonna be for
Oh
you to
man.
get it. And
Hey,
it's
it's
Stewart, right?
100%.
Okay,
Yeah.
good, good. I was gonna question you if
100%.
you're like, "Nah, it's a Kate jersey." I'd be like, man, what the
No,
heck?
no, no. You could call me out if I
I
did
would.
that.
That's awesome. I love that. I'm still tossing up what I want to do, but I definitely want to get a teal jersey at some point. I think it has to be Dern at this point, but I love Cade
Love
too, so
that.
it's tough.
Yeah. I mean, Cade's gonna always like, I love Cade, but
Yeah,
I don't know. I like to be a little bit different.
exactly. You have to
Everyone
be.
loves Cade. Like you gotta. It's I don't know.
Yeah,
They're a bit different, in my
yeah.
opinion.
I think so too. That's definitely important. Um, wow, yeah, that I can't believe it's against the teal. That kind of hurts.
I know, man. I was like, yeah, because yeah, like I said, she works in fashion. I'm like, oh, she might actually
Yeah,
like this. I'll show her
right.
because she sort of watches some of the Piston stuff with me when she has a chance. But yeah. Anyway, she didn't like it, and I was like,
That's
what? I'm actually
that's
shocked. I
yeah,
thought this is the one jersey you'd love, but hey,
man.
here's what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah. Real quick, funny story I'll end it with is so Lindsey Hunter, who played in the early 2000s, um, he was at some event. Like I went to a Pistons event a few years ago, or not a few years ago at this point. It was probably like, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago. And it was like a watch party. So basically, we went to a casino in Detroit, and they had like a game up, Pistons game, and there was like a whole bunch of like activities and stuff. And he was actually there signing autographs and stuff. And my dad and I went, and he signed like, I don't know, like a card or something for me. And then like my dad brought an old like teal Pistons hat for him to sign, or it was actually a jersey. It was like an old
Yeah.
school like jersey, not his jersey, just like a generic like t-shirt looking
Yeah.
jersey. And Lindsay got it, and he's like, "What the heck is this?" And he's like, "It's the teal." And he's like, "Oh man, I hated the teal." So apparently Lindsey Hunter, Pistons great, hated the teal. And he said like other players didn't really like it that much when they're on the team. So I don't know if that's
It's
just,
apart
you
from
know,
Killian Hayes
yeah,
and Dwayne Casey at the moment, it's one of the most divisive topics amongst
it
Pistons
is.
fans. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
It's a
100%.
love or hate
It is.
um, jersey, that's for sure.
It really is. Well, Jack, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, man. And, to anyone that's listening and they want to connect with you, check out your content, or just say what's up, best place to follow along is going to be on Twitter for you.
That's it, man. At Jack_Kelly_3on3. Hit me up in the DMs if you want to talk about Pistons, you want help with something, or you just want to chat. I'm always here to chat about mental health, anything, man. I'm an open book. So yeah, reach out to me for anything.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, I will also list Jack's Twitter in the description of this episode. So you can also go down there, click around, find his Twitter, and go tweet at him. Follow his writing that he does, or like you said, hit him up in the DMs and reach out, chat, talk about whatever. But definitely a great person to reach out to, especially if you're someone who might be inspired to start a journey similar to what Jack's been doing. I think he'll be a great resource for you. But other than that, is there anything that you have, any last thoughts, message, words that you want to leave to anyone listening?
Oh man, I just think this is an awesome. I love this podcast platform. Like I really mean that, because I think not everyone has passions in life, or not everyone has the courage to pursue them. But I can say just getting to where I am, which is it's so far from where I want to be, but the reward and personal growth I've had in the past 12 months just pursuing something I love is, I can't recommend it highly enough. And that's what I mean. I'm here if you want to reach out to me, because I needed a little nudge from my girlfriend to help me get started. So, yeah. Or if you have an itch to do something, I can't recommend highly enough doing it. And just always maintain patience and positivity, and then you'll be sweet. Can guarantee it. You won't
I love
regret it.
that. I love that. That's a great way to end it. And Jack, like you said, this is just the beginning for you, man. I have no doubt that you're gonna continue to thrive, in this industry and with what you're doing. And we'll definitely have to have you back on in like a year from now and just see all the growth and all the accomplishments that you've had. I know that this is just the start for you, man. So huge things coming your way. I can't wait to continue to watch and support what you're doing. And whenever you make it to Michigan someday, we're gonna go to a Pistons game. You got me on that one. We're going to a game. We're gonna wear teal jerseys and we're gonna watch the team ball out.
Absolutely, man. I can't wait to get to LCA one day. That's going to be amazing, because like I said, there's so many people in Detroit I've met and chatted to. Like, it'd be so cool to meet everyone in person. So I can't wait, dude.
You're gonna be a popular man when you come to Detroit.
Yeah, that random Aussie guy that loves the Pistons.
All for Andre Drummond.
Yeah, literally, bro. Literally.
Awesome, man. Well, Jack, thank you again so much for coming on. It was great chatting with you, and I'm sure we'll talk soon.
Thank you so much, Zach.
Yeah, take care.